Hello, this is Module 3, the Principles of Writing. Once the topic is selected, developing an organizational structure is essential to writing clearly, logically, and concisely. An outline based on headings is one of the better ways to get organized. Begin with an informal outline of ideas and thoughts about the subject, then develop a more formal outline by using headings. APA suggests 5 levels of headings to structure writing cohesively. Levels of equal importance will have the same level heading. Subheadings are used to structure content within the paper. Use at least 2 Level 2 headings in each section or don't use them at all. For more detailed information, please refer to Section 3 of the APA Manual. Following completion of Module 3, the student should be able to discuss the 5 levels of heading used in APA, describe guidelines that aid in communicating clearly, logically, and concisely in APA style, and discuss how to reduce bias when writing in APA style. Clear, logical, and concise communication. Because of their hierarchical nature, the headings used will depend on the length and the complexity of the paper or the manuscript. There are several tips for APA-style headings. 1. Proceed through the levels numerically, starting with Level 1. Do not skip over levels. 2. The first heading is not called Introduction or the title of your paper. The first heading will probably be somewhere in the body of the paper. 3. Use as many levels as necessary to convey meaning. Most assigned papers will have at least 2 levels. And this table is from page 62 of the APA Manual, so you can refer to it when you need to. APA provides guidelines for smoothness of expression in Section 3.06, economy of expression in Section 3.08, precision and clarity in Section 3.09, and reducing bias in language in Section 3.12 to 3.17 that help you communicate clearly, logically, and concisely. In order to achieve smoothness of expression, use verb tenses consistently and correctly. Use past tense when reviewing the literature and describing past events that occurred at a specific, definite time. For example, you might say Miller and Jones in 2014 described. Use present tense when discussing the implication of results and when presenting conclusions. For example, the results of Miller's experiment indicate. Finally, use the present perfect tense to describe a past action that did not occur at a specific definite time or an action that began in the past but is still ongoing. For example, since that time, investigators have studied childhood obesity using this method. Economy of expression is accomplished by concise and precise writing. Readability is improved when the paper or manuscript is not wordy. Do not use more words than needed to convey meaning. For example, you might say the best instructors help each student develop academically and emotionally, rather than the best instructors help each student become a better student both academically and emotionally. Redundancy should be avoided as well. For example, absolutely essential is redundant. To write precisely and clearly, avoid the use of jargon or technical language. Colloquial expression should be avoided as well. Jargon is similar to technical language, and it's a language used between members of a particular group. When nurses communicate with each other, they speak their own language. For example, saying BP for blood pressure or IM for intramuscular. Colloquial expressions include the use of informal, casual words, phrases, or slang. For example, you may be writing a paper about children and refer to them as kids and to their mothers as moms. That's not appropriate. Using the phrase a lot adds ambiguity to your writing. APA suggests using first person, I and we, when describing your research. I reviewed the literature. However, it is recommended that you follow the instructions for the particular writing assignment. Your instructor may want you to use third person only, since you're not doing research. If the instructions do not indicate specifically, check with the instructor. Reducing bias in language helps increase objectivity in writing and contributes to fair treatment of individuals and groups. There are 3 guidelines that are helpful. 1. Describe individuals at the appropriate level of specificity. For example, do not refer to people by their race, but by their nationality. Use Mexican rather than Hispanic. Another example is saying children at risk for obesity rather than at-risk children. 2. Be sensitive to labels. Avoid labeling by using language that puts the person first. For example, do not categorize people or your patients by their diagnosis. Do not refer to the diabetic patient in room 402. It is the patient with diabetes who happens to be in room 402. And the third guideline is acknowledge participation. Use active verbs rather than passive ones, especially if you're conducting research. For example, state participants completed the questionnaire rather than the questionnaire was mailed to or completed by participants. The next slides are questions that for you to answer. F. Write with as few words as possible.